Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be discussing the current problems and potential solutions with competitive Fortnite as it stands right now. Due to the fact that Fortnite is a relatively new game, the Fortnite competitive scene is also definitely in its infancy. The first ever Epic sanctioned competitive event only happened around 2 to 3 months ago, and Summer Skirmish, which is basically the weekly Epic sanctioned competitive event, only started about a month ago as well. Now, although these events have included some pretty huge prize pools, Epic has made it abundantly clear that the Summer Skirmishes are just the beginning. How can I be so sure of this? Well, first off, when Epic first revealed their plans of competitive Fortnite, it came with an initial investment of $100 million for just the prize pools of the event. And although the money given out through the Summer Skirmishes may seem huge, it's really only a dent in the total of $100 million. Second, along with the $100 million in prize pools, Epic also announced something called the first Fortnite World Cup, which is set to take place in late 2019 with qualifiers occurring sometime this fall. So although not everyone will agree, I think the future of competitive Fortnite is very bright to say the least. Epic is clearly invested very heavily into it, and I'm sure they're going to do everything in their power to make it a major success. But right now, there's some major problems that I believe, if not addressed, will seriously hinder the potential of competitive Fortnite going forward. This video is going to discuss those problems as well as some potential solutions, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright guys, so the first thing that Epic's going to need to address if they want competitive Fortnite to flourish in the near future as well as the long-term future is the fact that in their competitive sanctioned events, and I'm mainly talking about Summer Skirmish, which is the most popular at the moment, they are adding more RNG and randomness than necessary. And I'm not even referring to in-game. If you don't know what RNG means, it basically is randomness inside of Fortnite. And it's one of the major complaints that a lot of people think is going to hold back Fortnite as an esport, as well as every Battle Royale game for that matter. They all have this element of randomness in it. So let's say like Tfue and just an average Fortnite player land in the same building, even in the same room, and Tfue immediately runs to the right to one weapon spawn, and the average player runs to the left to another weapon spawn. If Tfue gets maybe a white pistol and some light ammo, and the guy that went to the left, who's an average player, picks up, I don't know, say a blue tack or a blue drum gun, Tfue is gonna lose that fight probably 90 times out of 100 because of things that are totally out of his control. Although I think RNG and randomness is a little bit overrated in terms of esports level competition, it's definitely a valid complaint. But the mistake that Epic is making is not just having RNG in the game. Every Battle Royale is going to have it. It's actually a crucial part of what makes Fortnite so successful. The problem that they're having is inviting lackluster competition to these tournaments which have so much money on the line that are mainly filled with pro-level players. I'll explain why this is such a problem by highlighting probably the biggest example of this, and it comes from a Summer Skirmish event probably 2 weeks ago, whichever one was the duos event. There was a team of 2 players that took part in the Summer Skirmish event that were clearly invited by Epic. I'm not going to name names, but all you need to know is it was 2 players that I would classify more as entertainers than serious Fortnite players. They do play the game and they probably are decent players, but they are nowhere near pro-level players, and that is highlighted by the fact that in 8 full-length duos game, this team got a combined 1 kill in 8 full games. Not 1 kill each, not 1 kill each game, 1 kill in 8 games. They also contributed 16 deaths for a total combined team KD of just over 0.06. I get a lot of comments all the time, oh bro, I'm such a bad player, I have a 0.8 KD, I have a 1.1 KD, can you help me out? Well, if you think that's really bad, imagine 0.06 for a second. And this had a really negative impact on the event as a whole, not even just for the one team that only got 1 kill in 8 games. Basically, in a pro-level game like what you see in all of these Summer Skirmish events, it is ridiculously hard to get kills. I highlighted in my previous video, in these lobbies, you're going to have to spend 500, 600, 700, maybe even 1,000 materials just to kill one person. And that's why the money bonuses for the amount of kills that you get in a game, it's not like $10,000 for 10 or 15 kills, it's more like $10,000 for 4 or 5 kills in one of these lobbies. So that's why having a team of 2 players that is nowhere near the skill level of the rest of the lobby is such a problem. Not only do they provide materials and loot for the team that kills them, but they also provide probably about half of the kills needed to take home an extra maybe $10,000 or $20,000. And since the Fortnite map is so big and the team switched up their landings pretty much every game, it was really just a game of chance who would be lucky enough to run into them. That should never be the case, plain and simple. And it's why Epic needs to ensure that every single player that participates in these events and all of the ones going forward are pro-level players at least. I understand Epic wants to get some bigger Fortnite content creators involved to get the person's audience into competitive Fortnite, but this is definitely not how you do it. I actually have a suggestion that I personally think would work very well, and we'll get into that when we discuss problem number 2, which is right now. The second thing that Epic needs to address if they want competitive Fortnite to be a success is the overall presentation aspect of Fortnite as an esport. I think there are 3 things that specifically need to be improved: spectating, casters/commentators, and finally the overall kill feed/scoreboard aspect of Fortnite. Starting off with spectating, this has been a major issue in the Summer Skirmish events. I could probably link at least 2 or 3 clips right off the bat just in my memory of the cameramen, whoever's operating the spectating system, switching from someone in an insane fight to someone across the map mining bricks or trees or some other kind of material. I think the best and most realistic solution to this is an actual spectator mode in the game, because the way they do it right now, switching between all the different streams and like a Google Doc, is a little bit odd to say the least. But I think that a spectator mode would fix a lot of these problems. Not all of them, because it's hard to catch all of the action in a game with such a huge map with 100 different players, but it would improve the spectating aspect overall and would be really good for competitive Fortnite going forward. Next up, casters/commentators. You can't discuss the commentator situation in competitive Fortnite without first discussing Zeke. He's basically the main commentator for all of these Summer Skirmish events, and a lot of people really don't like him. In my opinion, he seems like a nice guy. You know, he seems like he's a decent enough commentator. He's probably had a lot of experience beforehand. But my biggest complaint with Zeke is that he's not super knowledgeable about Fortnite. One specific example I can bring up from about 2 weeks ago, it was one of the times that Nick Merckx was a guest commentator and they were spectating a guy with 100 materials, and Nick Merckx said something like, oh, you know, he's low on mats, he's going to need to get some. And then Zeke said, well, how is he low on mats? He can build 100 things. He has 100 materials. Like, that's something that even very new Fortnite players probably would know, that it's 10 materials to build something instead of just 1 material, and you cannot have your casters at the highest competitive level not knowing basic aspects of the Fortnite game. So maybe replace Zeke, maybe just make sure he's more knowledgeable about the game, but something about that situation has to change. Speaking of guest commentators, that's the solution I was hinting to in problem number 1. I think guest commentators are the perfect opportunity for Fortnite to bring in some of these, you know, entertaining, huge Fortnite YouTubers and content creators without actually putting them inside of the event. You've seen them start to do it. They had Nick Merckx 2 weeks ago, Nick at 30 last week. I think there are some rumors that like Lupo and Cypher PK are coming in the next few Summer Skirmish events, but that makes a ton of sense. That way Epic can draw their viewers from those content creators, maybe even have something like Call of Duty where some of the biggest personalities have like an after action discussion desk to talk about what they saw during the event. That is the solution, not to put these less than pro players inside of the actual event. The final thing that has to be discussed is the scoreboard problem when it comes to Fortnite. In a game with 100 players, especially a Battle Royale, it is very, very difficult to actually track in-game who is winning, who is losing, who has how many kills, and it's one of the biggest issues with competitive Fortnite at the moment. 2 weeks ago, I was about 45 minutes late to watching the Summer Skirmish, and I was totally lost for like 10 to 15 minutes at least because I had no clue who was in first place, who was in second place, who was in last place. It was just a huge mess. This is definitely going to be one of the hardest problems to correct in all of competitive Fortnite, simply due to the fact that you cannot have an in-game scoreboard when a game has 100 players in it. It would simply be too big for the game to handle, but maybe something like Call of Duty with only the top 10 players, where in spectator mode, when hopefully it comes out, the casters or commentators or spectating people can press a button and it can show you a list of the 5 or 10 people who have the most kills in the current game, and then Epic could keep an updating total with how each individual player is doing in the event. The final thing that we need to discuss in this video today is the overall scoring system of competitive Fortnite. The overall scoring system is something Epic's been tweaking and struggling with since week 1 of Summer Skirmish. It really is this difficult formula of, alright, how do you keep the integrity of placement being important in Battle Royale games, while also making sure that it isn't only placement, because that will turn everything into a camp fest. The worst Summer Skirmish hands down was week 1, where only placement mattered. Everyone just avoided fights, everyone sat in dark corners in basements and buildings, and the final circle, which usually had like 5 or 10 players in it in a normal game, would have literally 40 or 50 players in it in the Summer Skirmish, because everyone was avoiding fights to survive until the end. I think they've gotten closer and closer to the perfect formula in the recent weeks. In my opinion, kills without a doubt need to be the most heavily incentivized thing. And I also think something they did really well last week was only rewarding placement points for people who won, and I believe people that finished as a team in the top either 3 or 4. My ideal scoring system would look something like this. The only teams that receive points for placement are the teams that place in the top 5. First place gets 4 points, second place gets 3 points, third place gets 2 points, and fourth and fifth place both get 1 point each. Each kill in the game is worth 1 point, and any game with over 3 kills in a solo match gives you a 1 point bonus, and in a duos match, any team with over 5 kills combined gets 1 bonus point as well. I think that's the perfect balance between rewarding winning and placing in general very high, while also keeping kills definitely the most important thing. I think equaling a win to 4 kills is really fair. It may not seem super fair, but for how hard it is to get 4 kills in one of these lobbies with 100 pro players theoretically, I think it really is the perfect balance and a perfect scoring system as a whole. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you watched the entire thing, leave me a comment down in the comment section below. Do you guys watch competitive Fortnite? Do you enjoy competitive Fortnite? Have you watched any of the Summer Skirmish events? Let me know with a comment in the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.